Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Pazza Podcast. This is a shortened episode. Just going to do a little introduction of myself. I've got a lot of videos and I've done this before, but I've got about like 5 or 6 new subscribers, followers. So I figured might as well reintroduce myself so you guys don't have to go back and dig and kind of see my background with Inter and why I kind of wanted to start the Pazza podcast. So first and foremost, introduction. My name is Travis, born and raised in the United States, southern United States, if you will. Was born in North Carolina. Grew up in the Greensboro area, Greensboro, North Carolina. Played for Greensboro Soccer Club. Came from a soccer family. My dad was a coach my whole life. He was my coach until I was about 10. I'd say he had a decent soccer knowledge, very fundamental soccer knowledge. And I think he realized that for both me and my older sister, he couldn't take us potentially to where our potential could could take us, I guess. So after we both were about 10, he stopped being our coach and took us to play for a club and coach that maybe could unlock some more potential out of us, that maybe knew more about the sport than he did. So really cool that he was not hubristic or prideful enough and recognized that we might get a little more out of somebody other than him. So Greensboro was the closest big city to my small hometown where I'm from, and the Greensboro Soccer Club was the club I played for majority of my club career. For the women, that was the Greensboro Twisters during this era. That is who my sister played for. My sister would be a D1 soccer player, starting goalkeeper for a D1 program her freshman year. And I would continue playing until I got done with high school. Was going to commit and play at Guilford College. I'd also had an offer. D2, D3 is what Guilford College was, which in the States couldn't get a sports scholarship. Did get some academic money. But I also had an offer, which this was a D2 school, so they could offer from Barton College to play. So had a decent playing career, but I decided at that point, I'd been refereeing for 4 years, that I did not want to continue playing, and that refereeing might be my path to maybe being in a pro match or something. At age 18, I was refereeing Division 1 collegiate soccer. I'd refereed a professional soccer match. It's a women's soccer match in North Carolina. So I have refed a professional soccer match, claim to fame, and I thought refereeing was going to be a long career for me, but this was during my college era, and I began to get party bug in my college era, and that affected my refereeing and affected my grades as well. So eventually, I had to drop one of those three things: school, refereeing, or partying, and I dropped refereeing. Did graduate college. That's where I met my wife, who is very supportive of me and is an Inter fan as well. But how did I become an Inter fan during all this time is the real question. That was just kind of my soccer background. Still referee to this day, though, just high school soccer, nothing big. Took a 2 year hiatus, came back, and I've been refing ever since. About 16 years now. But how I became an Inter fan as a kid during that era when my dad was coaching me, there was an Italian family in my small little hometown that owned the pizza place. Who would have guessed? They were friends of us, played on the same team, and one of their sons was my age, and we were best friends at the time, and I spent a lot of time over at their house. They were Napolitana, big Napoli fans. Um, Watched a lot of Napoli football, a lot of Serie A and Rai, I think was at the time the channel that they had that always watched. And I learned a lot about Italian culture and the differences between Italian and American culture. A little blonde headed Southern boy learning all this was beneficial to my life. And during this time, I wouldn't say I was a Napoli fan or an Inter fan, but I do remember seeing R9 and watching him and just the effect that had on me at the time. He became my favorite player. I loved Ronaldo Nazario. That's how a lot of people got into Inter, and I'd say that was really my path was him. Those iconic silver, blue, and yellow R9 Vapor boots that Nike put out. Those were my favorite. That iconic 02 World Cup ball where Ronaldo scored 2 goals in the final. Everything about Ronaldo, I loved. I loved the black and blue that he wore on posters I saw at soccer stores, and that famous game against Lazio, those black and gray Inter jerseys. It was everything to me. But in the States, we didn't have a huge soccer or football following, I guess, at that time. Really, the only access we had to soccer was the occasional Manchester United or Real Madrid game that ESPN would show. There was real never any Serie A action. So it was tough. I really only got to watch games if I went over to my friend's house on Rye, and at that point, it was probably mostly Napoli. So I wasn't fully aware. I knew a lot of the players that played for Inter at the time. I knew that I liked Inter. I knew Ronaldo is my favorite player of all time. So Inter became my club. World Cup 2006 was really, I think, a big starting point for exposure to soccer in America, football in America. And it happened to be when Italy won the World Cup. And those players, man, that '06 team was so incredible. You've everybody had to have fallen in love with all of those players. There wasn't, even though some of them are Juve players and Milan players, everything about that squad, from Lippi to Buffon to the five strikers that they had on the team forwards that were world class, Gattuso, Pirlo in the middle. They played the U.S. in that game. I think that's the game. Didn't Mastroeni get a red card? And I think De Rossi got a red card. Italy won 1-0, I believe. But yeah, everything about that team I loved. And I bought FIFA '06 or '07 that year. And my Inter love and spark reignited, and it was on from there. That team had my favorite player of all time, Hernan Crespo. That kind of brings me to my next, who's my favorite Inter player of all time. Deep down in my heart, I'm going to say Hernan Crespo. He was class, everything you want in a striker, absolutely great. Playing with him on FIFA, I would score 5 goals against my friends with Crespo. He was absolutely great. Still love watching. If you have time to watch his Parma and Lazio highlights, he's one of the best strikers of all time. His time at Inter was not as great. He had a couple different stints. He had a good run his first stint, but maybe isn't fully known for his time at Inter. It's definitely part of it, but he's just my favorite player of all time. He's incredible. But alongside on that team, Ibrahimovic was on FIFA '07 Inter, Figo, Vieira, Zanetti, Adriano, Materazzi, Cordoba, Maxwell, Mike Kahn, all of these players, they were just so fun to play with on FIFA, and I absolutely demolished all my friends with Inter. And from there, it was on. I was able to convince my parents to give me Fox Soccer Channel, which was the big Inter, or sorry, Serie A showcaser in America at the time. They would show like one game a day on Saturday and Sunday. With Inter being one of the best teams in Serie A, that was who I got to see a lot of. And I would record games because I was mostly reffing on the weekends at the time. I'd call my mom and tell her, record games for me, or don't let me know the score, pause it at the beginning kind of deal. And that's kind of what I had to do. And it's brought me to where I'm at today. My favorite Inter moment would probably be, the treble in 2010. That team with Mourinho was just seductive. They were the best. Anytime I think about Mourinho, it doesn't matter what he's done in the last 10 years. He's the best manager of all time, in my opinion. Simone Inzaghi is approaching Mourinho, but for me, he'll never. I don't think in my heart he could ever surpass Mourinho. Mourinho is the best of all time. So that 2010 team was my favorite for sure. A highlight of that season, though, kind of underrated, was that 4-3 Siena match. Walter Samuel goal, taking his shirt off. But seeing Zanetti lift the trophy was a truly magical moment, and would love to see maybe Lautaro do that as well. Uh, Hopefully, moving forward, Inter can build on the recent success and have sustained success over the years. That's really all we want. You don't have to win the Scudetto every year, but I can't go through another banter era. Let's just have a continuous top four finishes and be competitive year in and year out, and keep good players, sign good players. And yeah, that's all we can really ask from management. Maybe a Champions League in there or two. but I'm pretty happy and content with where Inter is at and where we are moving forward, hopefully. With Pazza Podcast, it's just become a hobby, guys. I appreciate all the support. Like I said, a few new subscribers. It's just a hobby that I'm doing. Like I said, being from the South and in the States, not much conversation I've ever had with people about Serie A. So this is kind of an open-ended conversation with you guys. Um, I know I ramble sometimes, but when you don't have anybody to talk to about Serie A action, it still feels good to get some thoughts and everything off your chest. You might not agree with me, and please, if you don't comment, keep it respectful, but comment. And I'm never afraid to dialogue, debate, whatever over Inter. But yeah, that's kind of my goal. Just don't really want to make it big. Just want to have a dialogue, something I've never had. Again, guys, my name is Travis. That's kind of my background. I appreciate all the support. Hope you guys keep listening. We're going to keep doing some things and hopefully build to bigger and better things as far as content and quality. So appreciate all the support, guys. And as always, Forza Inter.